What's going on, everyone? So the other day, Rob Pelinka got an extension as well as a new title. He was promoted from VP of Basketball Operations, Vice President of Basketball Operations, to President of Basketball Operations, while also maintaining his GM status. So essentially what this means is that Jeanie Buss may finally be getting out of the way. And I think this is great. I think this is great for Rob. I think this is great for the Lakers. I think this offseason, no matter what happens with the Lakers, whether the Lakers win the championship or not, right? They are probably going to look very different. I imagine there's going to be multiple trades, free agency signings, everything, right? Because they're going to want to, go and push for another championship or one period. They're going to want to make Luka happy too, because he could just leave in a year or so, right? He's extension eligible this offseason, right? So there's a lot of factors that are going to go into play. Bare minimum, they're going to go get a center, right? Probably a couple 3-and-D wings. I think that they need to get some real athleticism because you just see they're at times really struggle with the lack of athleticism with Luka and, Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. You just don't have that athleticism. And you see how like a Jared Vanderbilt, how much he can impact the game because of just his energy, effort, and athleticism. But point is, a lot of decisions, a lot of things are going to get done this offseason. And you need to be able to have the guy that you trust, believe, and you have to do the job, right? I've talked in the past and I've said, if you don't believe Rob Pelinka is capable of doing this job, then get rid of him, right? I've defended Rob Pelinka, but I'm not so tied to Rob Pelinka or anything like that to where no, if you don't think he's good enough to do the job, then get rid of him. Fire him and bring somebody in that's going to do the job. My biggest gripe was that Rob Pelinka would do things and then Jeanie Buss would veto or change it or deny it or whatever, right? Buddy Hield and Miles Turner is a great example, right? So my thing is, when do you ever hear of ownership getting in the way of their GM doing something? I'm not saying it's never happened, but it's very rare. And Jeannie's done it 3 or 4 times in the last 3 or 4 years. It's been crazy. It's been wild. She was the one that basically told Rob, hey, go trade for Russell Westbrook after he was working on DeMar DeRozan and Buddy Hield trades and all this stuff. He goes to go trade for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. When the Russell Westbrook situation falls through, Jeanie Buss goes, I want to see what Darvin Ham can do with Russell Westbrook, so vetoes that trade. We might have had a championship because we would have been much better matched up against a team like the Denver Nuggets, right? But point is now Rob Pelinka, we're going to get to see what he can do, right? And look, he's not been a perfect GM by any stretch of the imagination. Most of the things that people criticize Rob Pelinka for wasn't even his doing. Right? And I see people all the time, they're like, well, Rob should have just told Jeanie no. Good luck with that, right? Why don't you go to your job and tell your boss no when they ask you to do something? See how long you work there. He still has a boss. He still has somebody he has to answer to. And if he says no, then Jeannie's just going to fire him and put somebody in that will do it. So it's going to get done regardless, right? So wouldn't you rather just keep your job? So most of the arguments I see are just silly about Rob Pelinka, right? But now it's going to be on him. Now it's not going to be, well, Jeanie did this or Jeanie did, hopefully. And you never know. Jeanie still, she still might be involved. But my biggest problem has been, and I've talked about this on several occasions through live streams, through videos, you name it, right? That look, Jeanie Buss, she's comes from her father and ownership and she knows how to run a business and all that stuff. She doesn't know how to run a team. Right? She has made countless errors, right? And then she goes and confides in the Rambis family and stuff, and they have been dumped. They have a history of just being terrible basketball minds, right? Kurt Rambis, incredible basketball player, but we've seen basketball player doesn't translate to GM, coach, right? There have been plenty of, even Magic Johnson, right? He just gave away Ivica Zubac and he tried to coach for the Lakers and that ended in disaster, right? Again, just because you're a great basketball mind or a great basketball player doesn't mean you translate and should be running an organization and being a consultant or whatever, right? So one of the biggest things that I've had and one of my biggest issues with just the Lakers as a whole is Jeanie and the Rambis family essentially micromanaging and dictating everything, right? Get out of the way. Again, if you believe Rob Pelinka is the guy for the job, which when you go trade for Luka Doncic, we all knew he was going to get extended. We all knew he was going to do a job. And even that, I see people that are like, oh, well, it's easy when you get lucked into it. Like, okay, he still didn't have to negotiate. He still kept Austin Reeves. He still kept all of our draft picks, right? Like, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. The reports that even came out even said, like, they were negotiating and talking about it for a month. And on top of that, they originally wanted Austin Reeves and they wanted draft picks and all that stuff. And Rob Pelinka negotiated it down. He still had to do his job. Yeah, Nico's the one that presented the idea, but that doesn't mean that he didn't have to still do his job. But I digress. Point is if you believe he can do his job, then let him do his job. Get out of the way. I mean, how many organizations have been set back years because of a poor decision from the organization, right? Poor decision by a GM. That's usually why GMs get fired. You know, again, the Russell Westbrook situation, great example, right? Like, Lakers go and trade for Russell Westbrook and it set us back 3 years, right? Longer, right? Like, so point is that if you believe he's the guy for the job, let him do the job. Get out of the way, right? Let him run the show. Let him be the general manager. Let him make the decisions. And if you don't think he's capable and you don't think he's the right guy for the job and you don't like him in that position, then fire him and bring somebody in that you do. It's that simple. What's the point of hiring somebody if you're going to do all the work? Right? Like, what's the point of hiring somebody if you feel like you have to micromanage and do everything? Right? Like, it's pointless. Right? It'd be like, you know, a regional manager hiring a store manager and then just being at that store all day watching that manager. It's like, what did you hire him for? Right? You might as like, don't you have other things that you should be doing? Don't you have other stores and obligations? Right? Like, Jeanie, don't you have a business and the Lakers to run? Why are you micromanaging and dictating every decision? Now, look, owners sign off on everything, right? Luka trade, for example. Nico Harris talked to the organization and stuff like that. Owners sign off on it, right? Very rarely does a decision get made that the ownership isn't aware of, but it's one thing for it's one thing for Jeanie to be aware and know of and go, hey, we're going to go do this, or I'm about to pull off this. It's another thing to have to run it by her go, okay, let me think about that. Oh, hey, Kurt, what do you think? Linda, what do you think? You know, is this a good idea? Is that a bad idea? Oh, okay. Like, it's just, again, like, what other organization is doing that? Right? I mean, there's been plenty of criticism, not just from myself, but many others that are all like, hey, you know, Lakers are ran like a mom and pop organization, because they are in a lot of ways. But you went and you got JJ, right? You go and you extend Rob Pelinka. You revamp your entire development department. You revamp your entire medical department. And knock on wood, look how healthy the Lakers have been as an organization this year. Obviously, guys have missed some games and stuff like that, but that's just through the course of a season. Lakers have been very healthy this year compared to previous seasons. Lakers went out and got the best medical team, the best doctors, right? Dr. Sims was the Team USA basketball doctor. And before that, he was like track and field for the Olympics, right? Doctor, right? And then you go and you get all this development team and all this stuff. And you said, I want to be this prestigious organization. I want to be the best organization for development and growth and health and all those things. Something that should have been done 10 years ago, right? But, you know, better late than never, I guess. So you go and you revamp that, you do that, you find the right head coach that can be your head coach for the next 20 years. We might have found our pop. I'm not saying accolades wise and things like that. I'm talking about like a head coach that you just have for the next 20 plus years. We might have found that guy in JJ. He's been fantastic this season. So you have everything now intact. You have the health department, you have the development department, you have the head coach and coaching staff, you have now the general manager and, you know, president of basketball operations and all that stuff. Stay out of the way. Stay out of the way, right? Let those people do their job, right? Jeanie Buss isn't a doctor. She is not a general manager. She is not any of those things. She is an excellent businesswoman and deserves all the praise for that. Be that. Run the Lakers. run the behind the scenes, the day-to-days, make the Lakers a ton of money to be able to pay for everything, but let the people you hired and put in position do their jobs. Otherwise, get rid of them and bring in somebody that you do believe can do the job. That way you don't have to keep micromanaging everything, right? We've been set back several times because Jeanie Buss had to just intervene. Instead of intervene, just let stuff happen. Let your general manager be your general manager, right? Rob Pelinka no longer is the VP of basketball operations. He's now the president of basketball operations, which means he should be the sole guy in charge. Great. Let him be in charge. Let's see what he can do this offseason. Let's see what, now that he has no handcuffs and, not one arm tied behind his back, what can he do? Just let him go. I'm excited for it. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. You agree with me, disagree with me, kind of mixed in the middle. How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.